Welcome. Super excited for this live today. My sister Areli is going to be joining, and we're going to be exploring the divine feminine archetypes of the Muse and the Wild Woman. So for now, we'll just keep grounded. Settling into your body to be here for this conversation, to feel us together, because we are co-creating the Wild Muse Retreat later this year, and we are welcoming you in, those who are feeling the call to explore your full spectrum self, your full spectrum woman, connecting to nature, connecting to sisters, connecting to the truth of who you are and what opens up from there, the magic that opens up from there. Hello, welcome. We're just waiting a minute for my sister to join. Hi. Bring you on here. Give it a minute for tech to catch up, I think. My question for you, if you're catching the replay, if you're here live, is familiarity with playing with the archetypes, of exploring, trying on these different aspects and expressions of you. It's one of my favorite things to play with different archetypes, because it will wake up sleeping parts of me, and that always gives an extra energy, that gives, like, unlocks stagnant energy within, so it enhances creativity. It I'm just trying to get Aurelie in here. So I was saying it enhances our creativity. There you are, babe.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yay, we did it.
We did it. Yay. Tech catching up to us today.
To the Wild Muse energy.
I love it. So I was just giving a little intro on how we both love to play, like, in the different archetypes of the feminine. And I was just sharing what that gives me, like, that unlocks sleeping parts of me. It helps me when I'm in a like block in my life, or I can't really move through something, and we'll dive more into this. So I don't want to, like, go so deep right away, but just introducing the topic of why we might want to try on different archetypes. And I also remember when this concept was kind of brought to me, I explored, like, well, does that mean I'm not being authentic if I will play on another archetype or like try it on? And it was very much the opposite. It was actually finding true parts of me that had been sleeping or not yet awake, or had no idea that it was even like something I could access or express from.
Yeah, exactly. And I always say that the feminine is multidimensional, like within our nature. We are multidimensional beings. And so I know that society, it's very monotone. It's like, be this, this is your identity, this is your job, this is who you are, this is what you should be doing. And that is like so limited. And that's like putting the feminine in a box. When in reality, in our nature, like we're everything, we're all of it, like we are the muse, we're the wild woman, we're the mother, we're the maiden, we're the priestess, we're the witch, we're the lover. Like we're everything and everything is us. But for this live specifically, we want to dive into the archetypes of the wild woman and the muse
Yeah.
and exploring these energies, exploring these frequencies, and really just opening up this conversation to inspire everyone who's watching here. I mean, this live is specifically for women to inspire to really begin to explore these archetypes within yourself and like try it on and see what that does for you, see what that does for your expression, for the way that you interact with life, for the way that you carry yourself in the world, and the way that you see yourself as well. So the intention for this live is to really just like plant the seeds for that inspiration and to explore these archetypes, and as well, of course, to invite you all into our Wild Muse Retreat, which
Yeah.
we're going to be working with these two archetypes. We're going to be exploring these archetypes within this whole experience.
Yes, I love it so much. I'm feeling so much aliveness in my body basically every time. Like, it's so fun to be on live right now to because Aurelia and I have been coming together for some time now since meeting in Tulum. And whenever we come together, it's like this our infinite nature kind of gets activated, like that really juicy feminine gets activated. So just by sitting down with you, like, and tuning into the energy of the retreat and what we get to move through for a whole week on the, like, in the coastal jungle of
Mm.
Mexico. I'm just feeling it and feeling all the things, feeling so turned on in my body and that aliveness and that
Yes.
juiciness. And like, wow, it's gonna be so much fun to, like, we get to bring this into our lives every, like, anytime, any day is accessible, but to really be able to spend a week together being embodied in these energies is that what makes it available to like access in your daily life. So
Yes.
that's just, I just wanted to speak to the truth of what's moving through my body right now. And I'll love to, yeah, if you want to start just by, I'd love to hear from you. What is if you want to start with the muse or the wild woman, and like, what is it to you and what does it activate for you?
Yes, I love it. I'm just waving. I'm saying hi to everyone who's here. Hello.
Hello,
Beautiful.
hello.
So the wild woman, oh, I love the wild woman. I feel like this archetype I've been exploring for some time now. I would say maybe like 3 years since I moved to Costa Rica. I think that land, like the richness and the abundance of Costa Rica, really ignited and activated this part of me. And so, the, excuse me, the way that I relate to the wild woman is really just connecting to this primal, raw part of us, like this unfiltered expression, this part of us that is like deeply connected to our bodies, to our womb, like to our womb space, because our womb is actually our direct link to the womb of the earth. And through our womb, we tap into the consciousness of the feminine, the consciousness of the mother. And so it's really about descending down to the darkness, down to the primal raw essence, and really like connecting to the elements and connecting to nature and having a harmonious relationship with all beings, with the plants, with the animals. And not only that, but knowing how to utilize that connection to support our evolution, to support our growth. So it's really like invoking that primal power, that nature connection, and really just like being super liberated in our expression. It's like whenever I've tapped into this part of me of like really just being wild, it's like I feel like I'm connecting to my lineage, like my maternal lineage, and I feel the presence of my mother, of my grandmother, of all of the women who came before me. And when I'm really in this expression of like fully letting myself get messy and wild and like go into my darkness and like excavating the shadows and the wounds and like alchemizing it through my body. And I usually do this through like movements.
Mhm.
So like through dancing, through really like getting in my body, or even as well like in a medicine ceremony. You know, I work a lot with plant medicines and plant teachers, and these tools have helped me unlock this part of me, and more so being in a space with other women as well. You know, like whether I'm receiving and I'm being a part of that experience, or whether I'm on the side of guiding the experience, like there's always alchemy that happens in that collective space of the feminine, where we're like amplifying that within ourselves, within each other. And so I've been able to access these parts of myself, and I can, like, going back to what I was saying about the maternal lineage, like I can feel all of the women who came before me being like, yes, like,
Yeah.
thank you. Like, we've been waiting for this moment for centuries. Like, there's
Yes.
so much that is being liberated and alchemized through that moment of me going within myself and allowing myself to express that and like moving that primal, raw, wild energy through my body. It's like so much liberation happens, and it's like there's moments of just feeling completely overwhelmed by like gratitude for being like wow, okay, like I get to do this in this lifetime. I get to liberate my lineage, and I get to return and remember, because I feel like the wild woman, it's not so much about becoming something that we're not, it's more about remembering like who we've always been, to our core, to our nature. As women, like we were always meant to sit on the earth and like bleed and dance around the fire and braid each other's hairs and like walk around barefoot and like dig our hands and our nails in the dirt and like plants and like water those seeds, you know? So I feel like it's just about like rewilding. It's just about remembering who we've always been.
It's so yummy. And I swear, like, I was thinking things and then you will say them. So I'm in such resonance. And thank you for all of that. I love it. And yeah, for me, like it is liberation, and it is this, like, I loved what you said, this descent like into the lower chakras, like our animal nature. And so much of our trauma, whether that is this lifetime or what we inherited ancestrally. And also, I love that you brought that in, because this retreat has a lot, has a thread line of liberation for our entire maternal lineage. And we do this healing for 7 generations before us and 7 generations after us. It's just what happens when we allow ourselves to move and alchemize and liberate this energy. And so I totally feel that, like this aliveness. And so when we have the stuckness in the lower chakras, which is like really what I feel we're working with the rewilding, with the wild woman, getting our feet in the ground. And it's also, yeah, like connecting to the earth and our expression of, like, our expression as the earth. And when we liberate the energy in the lower chakras, it returns so much energy to us.
Mm.
Like just through that, being able to express, like from our animal nature, I really feel it activates just so much personal power within us. And there's another element of what happens, what you were saying with doing this in a group of women, there is an extra layer of power. There is like so much beauty and healing that happens when we are being witnessed in that expression.
Mm.
Because for me, what I experience, what happens, and I've been like over doing this work for some years, being witnessed in your raw, messy loudness,
Mm-hmm.
where there's the initial healing of like, holy shit, just breaking the pattern of suppression,
Mm-hmm.
and then being witnessed in that and recognizing, like having another sister recognize how powerful, how beautiful, how radiant you are in that expression. Something shifts inside that says, I'm not too much. It heals that collective feminine wound of too much. And when another woman's like, wow, like that's not too much, that's that's powerful.
Yes.
It's like, oh wow, a wholeness clicks in. I
Mm-hmm.
actually am lovable as all of me.
Yes.
And and this isn't to say that we need to go like running around life being like crazy and raw and animalistic all the time. But when you liberate it, it's not coming out in subconscious ways
Mm-hmm.
that actually can be very destructive in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really
Yeah.
important for us to give safe spaces, give healthy expression to these parts of us that are real.
Exactly. Yes, and there's something that I was really exploring and diving in within myself recently around what does it look what does it look like to express the wild feminine in a mature way, like in a contained way.
Yeah.
You know, not in a way where it's like, oh, we're just being wild and reckless and impulsive and we're just like showing our bodies to everyone because we're liberated. It's like, no, like yes, like we want to tap into that wild primal energy, and we also want to harness
Yeah.
it. Like we want to contain it, like we want to sit with it. And I feel like what you said is a key component to us being able to work with this energy in a mature way of like we have a space to go there.
Yeah.
It's a proper space that is designed for us to tap into that energy. And so that really tends to that feminine wound of being suppressed, which then results in expressing it in a rebellious way or like coming from a rebellious way, you know? So it's
Yeah.
really like harnessing that
Mhm.
energy. And not only that, it's like directing that energy as well. And it's something I am as well like exploring right now is like this whole talk around like the lower chakras, you know, so like the roots and the sacral chakra, especially the sacral chakra. Like as women, there's so much power there. Like in our womb space and like our sex centers, like this is how we bring life
Yeah.
into matter.
Yeah.
And so what does it look like to harness that energy, you know, during our ovulation? Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of talk around like, you know, sitting with your bleed and that's beautiful. But right now what I'm exploring is like how can I actually tap deeper into my state of like when I'm fertile, like into my fertility? Like what does it look like to explore my eros? What does it
Mhm.
look like to cultivate that energy and then to like direct it?
Yeah.
Not only to like have all this energy and like be wild with it, but like let's direct it, let's channel it, let's focus
Mhm.
on something and like with this process and this like idea of like and I'm exploring another archetype here, like the alchemist or like the oracle of like let's move that energy through.
Yeah.
And so this is a lot of the work that we're going to be doing in the retreats, you know. It's like not only like tapping into the energy and exploring it, but as well like finding healthy ways to channel that energy and to hold it and to direct it into different parts of our lives,
Yeah.
you know, whether it's like we're wanting to make a change, a big change in our life that takes a lot of courage. I think you said something really powerful yesterday when we were having a conversation. You were like, I mean, I would like you to speak on it, but it's like the ways that you tap into the wild muse, like when you're in a city, you know,
Mhm.
it's like that energy like encourages you to like move forward or like to take a risk or like to do something that you've never done before. So I'd love to hear more about how you're tapping into it, being in a
Yeah,
city.
yeah, totally. I love how we're bringing this in of like, okay, like that liberation of like women being in their animal nature in the woods, in the jungle, like how does that translate into real
Yeah.
life? Or like our regular, our daily lives. And honestly, it's like that personal power that we've liberated through moving that energy, that stuck, stagnant, ancestral heaviness, that density into pure fertile energy. That's
Oh,
it moves like, yes, that's in the lower chakras, but it affects all of it. And it's
yeah.
the same energy that allowed me to, move my life many times, but like the
Mm,
most recent one of just picking up my life, my home in Tulum, moving to Mexico City, saying yes to a three-story, three-bedroom house, furnishing it because I'm like in that liberated expression
mhm,
from these lower chakras of the personal power,
mm,
and that trust in myself has been unlocked, that lovability in myself has been unlocked, and it translates into honestly every aspect of life, like even us being able to go on this live. I mean, it feels normal for us because we're embodied in this, but there's been times in my life where I feel blocked to speak my truth. And I know a lot of women feel blocked to express themselves, let themselves be seen, whether that is, in a online business, like coming on an Instagram live, or in your life, speaking up for your needs, knowing you are worthy of your needs and your desires, and being able to speak your truth. Like that's an expression of the mature wild woman.
mhm.
And I'm thinking if there that's what's feeling alive right now, of how that actually can come in. Like when we're feeling like the nervousness, the insecurity, it's like there's like a powerful essence within us that we get to harness.
Yeah, I always like to, I work with this archetype, the jaguaress, and it's like a spirit animal that came through for me very strongly when I was connecting to my ancestors. And the jaguaress is the wild woman,
Oh,
and it's like she knows when to make a move and she trusts herself, like intuition is a really big piece to the wild woman. And this is like something that you touched on. It's like, can we actually trust ourselves to make those bold moves, to
yeah.
take those risks, and to like really listen to this innate primal wild side of us, which is the side of us that is telling us like there's more. Like
Yeah.
there's more. There's so much potential to be tapped into. And it is through that fierceness, like fierce conviction of like that like feline energy of like, all right, like I know what I want, I know how to get it, and I'm gonna fucking get it. And it's like that like energy and it's like that power that can be tapped in through the wild woman, I feel.
Yes, it's so yummy. I love it so much. Yeah, I feel pretty complete on sharing how the wild woman moves through us, lives through us, and also supports us in our life. Do you feel complete on the wild woman?
Yeah, I was feeling that already. That's like the last piece I wanted to mention. So let's
Amazing.
dive into the muse.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the muse archetype.
Yes.
Do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, totally. I love the muse. I think the muse is one of my most like embodied expressions. Even my first podcast was Magic and Musings.
Mhm.
And because the musings for me are like the muse archetype rather is this humility of letting my vessel be a channel for spirit. Like how does life, love, eros want to move through me? How does it want to move me? How does it want to
Yeah.
breathe through me? Like just asking those questions always gives me like a yes, like I'm not doing this all on my
Yeah.
own. I am this amazing open vessel for the light to come through, for the love to come through. And something I even like connect to with the muse is like romanticizing life. We talked about this yesterday too, of like just how I started asking myself, like, how can I be in the energy of like the energy of being in love with
Mhm.
life,
Yeah.
and the that is like it's like putting glasses on of just seeing the world through this perspective of like, oh yeah, I am love. I am this
Mhm.
radiant being. And it's the energy that can take a mundane task like doing your dishes or something, the finances in your business. And the muse has the ability to be like, I'm gonna make this sexy or fun or like playful. And I'm gonna like just, if it's washing the dishes, like feel how I'm making my house beautiful. I'm nourishing my house, which is nourishing me. And I being the matriarch of this 3-story house where I have other people living in it. I'm like, I'm the nucleus of this house. And the muse comes in where it's like, how can I influence the whole vibration of the house and and my environment? And that can be in my house. That can be when I go to a coffee shop. What am I a pillar of for people? Like, what am I a light beam? And can I remind people that they get to feel in love with life too? And the muse is creative. Like something that started really connecting with to me and the way that I move and teach and what I share is that creativity is like the highest form of spirituality. I mean, I don't want to say highest because but for me, that's when I feel most connected to spirit, to my higher self, is when I'm really in that doing my work to be the open vessel, clearing my channels, clearing my blocks, like getting my prana right, like opening my chakras so that I can truly be this vessel. And I've brought it into even deep healing. Like I started hosting creative writing for healing because this is the muse really in action. When you take something in your life, like maybe it's an inner child a feeling where something is, not the way you would like it to go. And, or even like as a collective of, I've done like written poetry on the collective feminine wounds and just starting with the sentence, it ends here. And it's like, what are you ready to alchemize? And the muse has this alchemical nature to her because what happens is she takes something that's heavy and difficult and unfair and she creates art with it, whether that is through poetry, whether that is through physical art or her life. If she creates a business based on like what she had to liberate, what she was called forward into liberating for her ancestral line. So that to me is the muse.
Yeah, I love that. I feel in very similar ways. You touched a little bit on creation. And as well, to me, the muse represents like being a source of inspiration because in its inherent definition, like that's what a muse is, and like we think about the normal definition of muse, it's like those women who are like naked, like laying laying on a couch and eating like grapes and being painted by somebody. It's like I don't know, that's like the image that I get from my programming. But really, like I've been exploring this archetype and I've been asking myself, well, what does a muse actually mean to me personally? Like, what's my relationship with the muse? And I definitely see her as, yeah, being this pillar of inspiration, and like she's aware of that. She's aware that she has the power to inspire others through her creative expression. So she inherently has this sense of like leadership within her. And as well, something we were talking about yesterday is like she's very magnetic, like the muse, she loves looking beautiful and like she loves dressing up and like adorning her vessel and she's radiating and like whenever she walks into a room, like there's this natural sense of magnetism where like you can feel her presence and you can feel her level of like openness and softness, and she's like very feminine as well, so all about like beauty and aesthetics and arts and expression. And with this piece on magnetism is it's like she's okay with being magnetic. So like she has
Yeah.
done the inner work
Mm,
of like
mm,
fear of being seen, fear of being heard, fear of speaking her truth, like all of these things, all of these wounds that us women carry. Like she's done the work to move through that. And so whenever she stands in her expression, in her creativity, in who she is, in her beauty, in her radiance, she's like she feels good in that. And like she can hold that. She can hold the attention on her. She is okay with people drawing inspiration from her. And so I feel like this is like really powerful, you know, like when we're able to recognize this within ourselves, when we say like, okay, I am beautiful, or I am powerful, or I do have the ability to inspire people. I do have really powerful medicine to offer. It is like through
mm,
that reclamation and that declaration that we fully stand in that. And like the more we reaffirm these things to ourselves, the more real it becomes. And then it becomes really like embodied and it becomes our living reality. And so
mm.
this is what the muse represents to me as well. There's that element of like being a lover, like you said, of like just romanticizing life. And for me, when I'm tapping into my inner muse, this is when I'm like writing poetry. And I'm like, like I'm a hopeless romantic, like deep within my heart. I've always loved love and like love movies and
I'm like all
everything.
Pisces,
Like
so yeah.
I just love love. So yeah, it's a part of me that like writes poetry or like loves to go on Pinterest and like look at beautiful pictures and make Pinterest boards and like, even the whole side of my business, like the branding side of it, where I'm creating graphics and really like tapping into the visual aesthetics of my business. To me, that's the muse as
Yeah.
well. Because she's thinking about like, how can I make this beautiful? How can I infuse my soul, like my soul's expression into what I'm creating? And so I feel like when the muse is like really harnessed and embodied, we're really tapping into a deeper part of ourselves. Like we're tapping into that soul expression, that soul creation. And when we're creating from that place, like this is when whatever we create becomes really powerful, really impactful, and magnetic as well.
I love all of that. And I also am reminded like that it is also creativity in relationships. Like this is something that I really loved playing with is like being and developing and cultivating. How can you be an artist in life? Like the muse is to me the artist. And so not only in our business, in our physical creations, but our tangible creations, but relationally. Like if you are in a relationship and you are craving more intimacy or more deeper connection, like how can you cultivate that through artistry? Like that's the muse. Like how do you embody that frequency and get creative to express yourself, like it's as rather than like being always so like linear about what you desire in life. Like how can you bring in artistry? And the muse is really good at this. Like she's really creative. How can she bring in this artistic playful way to influence her environment, whether
Mm.
that's relationally or in a program that she's running or a talk that she's giving.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Something that's coming through is just like authenticity and like innovation as well. So like just thinking outside of the box and like doing things that have never been done before. And it's like society tells us to like be this, and then like the muse is like it's like this. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
creating something that's never been created before. And that really comes from tapping into our own authentic truth.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can I just do things differently? Because we see so much of the same everywhere. And it's
Yeah.
really just like stepping outside of that comfort zone
Mhm.
and like paving our own way and doing things our way.
I love that. And it's also touching on a little bit of what we spoke to yesterday was that we could keep living our lives the same way. Like we could keep looping the same story. We could keep creating the present and the future from the past. And activating these archetypes within us are a pattern disruptor that give us an empowerment in our life to create a new reality, to create, like, tap into a quantum identity and to
Mm,
make those refinements that would feel more liberating, that would feel more fulfilling.
hmm. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
I
I
love
love these archetypes. I'm
it.
so excited to drop into the juiciness of just, yeah, like playing and getting even deeper in the embodiments of these archetypes and to support other women to
Yeah.
do this on the retreat.
Yes, I love how many interactions we've had throughout this whole conversation. I just keep seeing like hearts and
Oh,
little fire flames and happy faces.
I
It's so
know.
beautiful. Thank you all for being here and for interacting and like receiving this conversation. And yeah, if you're watching the replay, please like comments, let us know how this landed for you. What was the most impactful thing? What are you taking with you from this conversation? And yeah, we're really just inviting all of you here to Wild Muse, our retreats in Mexico. It's going to be in November, from November 30th to December 6th. So it's going to be a whole week. And throughout this week, we're going to be diving in deep into these two archetypes. So, like the wild woman, we're really going to be out there in nature. Like, we found this incredible retreat center that is immersed in the Mexican pristine jungle on the coastline. So it's like we're 15 minutes from the beach, we're surrounded by nature, and we're really going to be working with the elements of the trees, of the elements, and the water, tapping into that mermaid essence as well, spending time by the beach and just receiving the sun. And we're going to be spending a lot of time as well, like liberating our expression. So this part of the wild feminine, of the wild woman, of like really accessing those parts of ourselves
Yeah.
that have been suppressed for so long, and alchemizing it through our expression in sisterhood, sitting in circle, doing ceremony together, doing rituals, doing really powerful practices like Kundalini and Kriya, which like these two yogic lineages, if you know, you know, like they're some of the most powerful yoga practices I personally have come across with. And like Mel does Kundalini and I do Kriya, and so it's gonna be like really, really potent, and I'm super excited. And then there's a whole aspect of the muse as well, right? Like we're gonna be doing like creative writing workshops and poetry and like channeling the energy of the elements and the trees and the water, and it's gonna be super beautiful.
Oh, it's
So,
gonna be
so beautiful.
amazing. Yes. And you can even see the ocean. Like you can see the sea from where we are in the jungle. Like that 15 minutes is just from a hike, like a gorgeous hike to that water. And like, so we're really bringing in all of the elements and like play, like activating those within us. Like when we are in that environment, so much just naturally happens. And it's gonna be an amazing, beautiful, transformative time. I'm so excited. And if you're one of the lucky ones to be hearing this now and you're like feeling the energy, the aliveness, the pings, we have an early bird special going on for just a few more weeks. So um, you can pick the room that you want. We have the entire property for ourselves, which we did intentionally because we want you to feel safe to be in the full expression rather than like I need to be chill and like suppressed because I don't want to disturb the other people. Like no, we're all going to be there together on the whole
Yeah.
property so you can be fully expressed in the liberation, which just will give you so much in your life. And
Mm.
we're both so excited and yeah, just l- feeling it already.
Yes, yes. So if anyone has any questions, you can either message Mel or me, and we're happy to just talk to you about it. We're also doing discovery call. So if you really want to spend some time like talking to either of us and just like have any questions, that's available to you. We really want to make sure that the right woman come into the space.
Yeah,
And we know that they will, because this is just how the divine works. You know, the right women are always magnetized into these
absolutely.
experiences. And so,
Yeah.
yes, that is all for today. Thank you all so much for being here and for joining us. And stay tuned for more juiciness.
Thanks, everyone. I love you, sister. Thanks for this
I
conversation.
love you so much, sister. Talk soon. Mwah.